What's up, everybody? I'm Scott.
I'm Jason.
And you're listening to the Christmas week special Liquid Kernedge. It's not really special. It's just we're the week between Christmas and New Year's.
Well, and the thing that's weird about this is the last recording of 2018. So
Right?
officially, next recording will be the new year.
Right. Man, 2018 went by so fast.
You know, it did. This is our 86th recording that we're publishing, and where's the time gone, my friend? Where has the time gone?
You know, I don't know. I honestly remember January felt like it took forever. It felt like it was so long, and then boom, once February hit, it's been like lightning.
Yeah.
Everything's happened so fast. Kids eating Tide Pods was last January, and it feels much further back than that.
Well, last year we decided we were kind of short on material, so we just went through top stories of 2018. So this year we have a little more content. We're kind of more hipsters. So
I think we've evolved. We've
evolved. Yeah,
we don't need to have our lists that our executive producer Tom, I think, has a love-hate relationship with. Is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, Tom definitely rolls his eyes to the lists. However, he has mentioned on several occasions, begrudgingly, that the structure was sometimes a nice to have.
Yeah,
a little bit of structure. So
I'm just going to put this out there for our listeners. Last week we put out there how to get an autographed picture of our executive producer Tom. But if there's a list you'd like us to tackle in 2019, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Kernedge. If there's a list you'd like Tom to tear apart, hit him up on Twitter or Instagram, all at Liquid_EP.
I would like to just put out there that we have invited several people to join our show, and those episodes with the special guests have always been really fun to record and really fun, popular on our listening. So, if you would like to be part of the show, you have a topic you want to bring up, or you want to have something discussed and you want to be part of it, we can definitely make it happen. So just, reach out to us.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was having a conversation yesterday on Christmas with our friend Bruce from the show. Bruce has been on the show talking about construction. We were roommates back in college. He's considering starting his own show earlier this year. And he had let me know that he had gotten his boys an Echo Dot for Christmas. And one of the features Alexa has is if your contact information is in Alexa's contact information, you can call from dot to dot.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he wanted to make sure I knew that in case his dot was calling, it was not him, it was his sons. To which I had to already inform him, yes, I know they've called me 3 times today. So,
Talk about full circle, man. Remember in the days when you get in trouble with your parents for calling those 1-800 numbers because of the long distance? We're back to that again, all over again. You got to justify your children doing the calling.
So I told them, that's fine, man. If they call me, it's game on. Just so you know, I will call in the middle of the night and taunt them and scare them. And I will pretend I'm the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, whatever you need. And he goes, oh, that would be great. He goes,
oh, you could have some fun with that, Scott.
You just call him and you scare him. You do whatever you need to do. So that's like a carte blanche from Bruce because I know he pushes the limit anyway. So I was like, all right, you know what? If I have to, I will drop these little kids and I will freak them the fuck out.
Dude, you've always been a wonderful extended family member. You
I
really
appreciate
have,
that. Thank you. It's nice to hear it. Although sometimes I don't feel like it, but you have to help out with friends' kids or whatever else, and
Well, sometimes the extended family is better than the live family.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
God,
like sometimes
right?
It's like, it's better to get extended family that we love than regular family that we have to.
And the holidays remind you that so much. Before we were on the show, I know you were talking about your whirlwind visits with your extended family for the holidays, and my family got saddled with my dad's sister and brother-in-law, and this is the first year for us where we didn't really have to focus on anything because my grandpa passed last summer, so everything's kind of been up in the air. Like my aunt and uncle, I have one aunt and uncle that stayed back in Kansas. This other aunt and uncle from this side of the state decided to come here, and they're kind of, I guess, they're rovers for the holidays now because as far as my family's concerned, we're stationed at a Kingman or Williams until further notice. We're not traveling for Christmas because that's not our style.
So if anyone wants to celebrate the holiday, they got
to come see us because we're not going to go see them. Yeah. And it's nothing personal, just that we have our own traditions. We have our own things we like to do, and they're more than welcome to join us. It's just that we're not going to go there because, as it might point out, Tom is going to be 41 this year. I'll be 38 here in a few weeks, so we can do our own things for Christmas. So we don't have to travel like that either, which is nice.
Well, that being said, Tom still has to drive 3 hours.
That is true. That is true.
I mean, in defense of him, he does still have to travel.
And I will say, and to Tom's credit, normally he's up like on Christmas Eve and gone first thing on the 26th. And this year he did humor me with something that I do appreciate more than he might realize, that coming up to watch the last Cardinals game before Christmas at the bar together is something I've gotten used to the last couple of years, and it's always gotten to be a fun thing for me. So I know it won't happen next year because Christmas is on a Wednesday, and that extra 2 days is way too much to ask of him. So,
Yeah. The 2 days, now you're talking.
Yeah,
crazy.
That's crazy. That's crazy. But it was nice. I mean, it was a nice thing. But family, extended family can be taxing.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they don't mean to be. I mean, I think we talked about this before, is that some people just drive you nuts. It really doesn't matter, I mean, they don't mean to be. They're very important people in your life, but oh my goodness.
Craziness. Yeah, you just learn to work. You learn to work around certain people's crazy, because either it matches yours, or you realize that the greater good, it's not that big of a deal to pick that fight. And in other cases, you realize they're sweet, but they're too dumb for their own good.
Yeah. And I can deal with those people because I call them eccentric.
Yeah.
So those kind of members of my family I can tolerate because, okay, so you drive me nuts a little bit, but you're so darn cute. I mean, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt just because you're not hurting anybody. You're not like purposefully hurting somebody.
And I'll be the first one to admit I'm terrible at keeping up with family. It's not something I actively try to do. Tom is much better at that than I am. I choose to talk to my extended family, my friend circle, more than my actual family itself, and that's a personal choice. It's just easier for me, if that makes sense.
Okay, well that makes sense. I got it.
And Christmas Eve, it all became apparently clear that I made the right choice.
Oh, do tell, my friend.
And I don't like airing dirty laundry, but I know we got 4 listeners and 5 if you count the executive producer. But he lived through this and he saw this, so he will verify what we experienced over the last 2 days.
Well, do we need to make any sort of hypothetical changes? Like if the person's name is Bill, we're going to call him Jill?
I will just leave it as my as a family member.
Okay, family member. There we go. Very good.
We were sitting there watching the football game, and just having a conversation on Monday night. It was the Broncos and Raiders, and we were just hanging out and having a couple drinks. No big deal. And then my brother got on the topic of living in Phoenix. We've had our family live down there for a long time, or my extended family, and then they relocated to a smaller town across the state, and they were talking about the traffic. To which my uncle, who is, let me preface this, is not a racist man by any means. He's just older, very set in his ways, very opinionated to the right wing of society.
Oh wow, this should be fun. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. So we're sitting there, and I'm not even sure how we got in the conversation. Oh, it's because it was in Oakland, and he was saying never go to Oakland because you got to be armed to get in the stadium. You got to be. It's such a bad part of town. This and that, and the other thing, and then they got to talking about different parts of Phoenix and how the traffic has gotten so bad in Phoenix, and that's because the Mexicans are the ones with all the hit and runs and fleeing back to Mexico to hide from the cops.
Oh no!
So and it was almost in unison. Like my brother, my mom, and I all kind of looked at each other like, "Did that just happen? Like, did you say that?" I mean,
oh man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we just kind of brushed it off, but he went to go use the bathroom a little while later, and like it was just one of those like quick huddles without actually huddling. It's like, we heard that, right? That was what it was.
Now, did he say it with a straight face, or was he joking?
Oh, he didn't miss a beat, Jason. It was straight face, deadpan. Like it was gospel as far as he was concerned.
When I say it, it's the truth.
In his mind, it was the truth.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. I know where we're going. Okay. Continue.
So, we brushed it off the best we could and kind of played it off. And, I went home eventually because I had that privilege. Everyone else was stuck at the house. So, it's the truth.
The night is over. Okay.
That is one perk to when everyone comes to Kingman. I have a home to go to, so I go to my home. It was fine. The next day, Christmas Day, we were sitting there doing something, watching something, waiting for my aunt to get ready. And again, it was my mom, my brother, my uncle, and I. My dad was off, I think, checking email or playing on the computer. And they got on the topic of Europe. And my uncle told us the problem with Europe is that all the Muslims were coming over and ruining it. That's why cops couldn't go to certain neighborhoods and certain towns were in ruins.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And again, it was the quick looking at each other like, did that just happen? Did we just hear that? And what do you say to that? Because it's not like
I know what my mom and I would say, but continue.
Yeah. It's sorry. I'm looking at my watch like it's not even 10 a.m. and I think I got to start drinking.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like this is getting out of hand, man.
Oh, good Lord.
This is twice in less than 12 hours. And Tom, in defense of everything, stepped up and said, well, in fairness, Europe's been falling apart for a lot of other reasons for a lot longer. So I don't think it was them necessarily. But, let's just not say. And my uncle's very positive on the fact that was part of the biggest problem with the downside of Europe right now.
Okay.
So then we had we had a few hours of respite, and then how everything goes at holiday dinners. It's where everything's just fantastic and fun because everyone's there drinking, and at some point someone's opinion is going to come out.
Oh God. Well, since we're on the subject of stereotypes, that is a perfect stereotype.
Yes. Right. It is what it is.
Oh man. So, okay.
It was a very pleasant, quiet dinner, and then we were talking about. I forget what we were talking about, but somehow, like it got into it got to the point where we're discussing how murders and deaths and whatever else, and my uncle again chimed up. It's like, well, the reason, a lot of these murders and whatever else of small children happen from the boyfriends of the women's of the mothers.
Oh,
so generally, if a kid gets killed, it's because the boyfriend did it.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
that makes
sense. Yeah,
I don't think that means what you think it means. Because you're implying that boyfriends kill small children and sometimes worse. And as someone who dates women with children on occasion, no, those are not anything I would do, nor would anyone I know do. So I don't think you can say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that should not be said.
Right? And again, at this point, I'm looking at my mom, and my mom can see the frustration building inside me.
Yeah.
And then we changed the subject, and I was explaining to him about social media and how advertising works and all that, and I was explaining how Google AdWords work. He goes, well, I never use Google because I don't respect the CEO of Google. I only use Bing because he's an honorable man. Bill Gates is. The owner of Google is corrupt, but Bill Gates is honorable, so that's why I only use Bing. And I don't even say it that, so I just started clearing the table. So,
wow.
I mean, it was exhausting, man. I was done. I didn't even know what to say at that point. I just shut down after that. I collected my dogs a little while later, and we all went home and played golf on the Xbox.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh boy, Scotty.
So my question to you is, how do you deal with your eccentric family like that?
Yeah. See, I actually ran into that during Thanksgiving. I haven't really met one of Noreen's brothers. He's from Oklahoma, and a really nice guy for the most part. But one of these guys has a set opinion that's very right-wing conservative, and it got to the point where it was the standing joke during the entire weekend. What political argument did you guys get into last night? And what political argument are you guys going to get into tonight? Because it got to a point where we were just opposites on everything. Everything. And now he wasn't as blatant as he was not as blatant as that, where, the Mexicans are the ones that cause all the hit and runs and the Muslims are the ones that cause all the problems in Europe and the boyfriends are the ones that cause all the problems with death and babies and stuff. So he wasn't that stereotypical, but everything had a right-wing slant to it.
Yeah.
And now, me, Scott, I'm the type of person that is not going to let that go.
No, not at all.
So I am. So with your uncle, I'm assuming that I would have had a lot of drinks in me at that time, and you would have probably had to clear me away from the table because I would have shot it back to him. Now here's what I do though, is I've learned recently that the better way to attack these kind of discussions is not as a you are right, you are wrong, but to go into the objective logic of the argument.
Yes, I agree with that completely.
And so when you go into the objectivity of the argument, or even to the sense of, oh, that's very interesting. So if I understand correctly, for example, if I understand correctly that all Mexicans do that, do you know a lot of them that have done that?
No, it makes perfect sense.
So that's the tack I've been taking lately, is going from the logic perspective of just totally ripping their logic to shreds. And that's what's been happening is, one of the things I'm learning is we are so, as a society, not all of us, but as a society, we focus so much on the flashpoint headline that we don't spend a moment to research, to contemplate whether that flashpoint headline is totally true. We just take it on its face value, and that's what it is. And so when you start to slow it down and try to break down the logic of some of these people's arguments, you find that they're really not that informed, other than maybe the bullet point.
Yeah. I would go with that. Yeah.
So for me, that's my approach lately, is I don't shy away from the conversation. Like, I know some people just flat out, they won't have the conversation. They don't get involved with the conversation. I don't mind having the conversation. But, part of me feels like I'm here to try to help inform them of, if you're going to make an argument like that, you better be prepared to actually back the argument with some facts, because so many times when you jump into it with someone on the facts alone, their argument falls apart.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's when I come in to say, if you want to believe that, that's, fantastic, but you might want to get some better facts behind you, because I'm not even a skilled debater. And if I can tear your logic apart,
think of what someone else can do.
Someone else is going to make you look like an idiot. Yeah. So anyways, but now, that comes up to the question. We've talked about podcasts before about stereotypes, right? Do you think that this is just helping your uncle make sense of a crazy world, that coming up with these kind of brash statements, even though they might be technically hard to prove, that it helps him make an understanding of why Europe is such a mess? Because that's kind of a complicated issue, right? I mean, it's not just one thing.
Yeah, it's not cut and dry, and I think so. I think there's a big part of it that's what it is. It helps you cope and understand. Whether it's right or wrong is none of my business, nor do I really care. Lord knows I have my own coping mechanisms, but I don't know if that's something you just go out and blatantly spread around. Obviously, being around family, you just it's supposed to be a safe zone, and you're supposed to be able to speak your mind in theory, but I don't think you're supposed to speak your mind like that on extended family, especially if you're not sure where their viewpoints are.
Now, what is because so if I understand correctly, it is your dad's sister's
husband.
So it's not even a blood relative. This is just an in-law.
Yeah. Okay. But in fairness, though, my aunt does also back everything up, because as we've been told over the years, she tends to lean whatever direction her husband is.
Okay, so she's a good woman, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That was... Uh-oh. That might get me in trouble with our 4 listeners. That 2 of them are females. I know that for a fact. So
yes.
I apologize in advance, but hey, we're here to be provocative, so
yes. All right. Well, that's gonna get some notes on the old notepad here on Thursday.
So your aunt kind of goes with the flow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and is it possible that your uncle was trying to do it because he really wants a debate and just wants to kind of get the ball started?
No,
like maybe he was looking for you guys to say no, and have an open discussion about it.
No, if he was, I think he was talking to the wrong people about it, because my mom feels very much like you do in those cases, but she's not going to start a fight because she has other shit she wants to go do. Tom will banter back and forth, which is good for Tom, and I appreciate that. I just don't care. I really just don't care, man. It's like I'm like most people. I'm doing my hard time. I'm there for my parents and my brother and the food and the other stuff, but I don't want to get into a fight about politics. I don't want to tell the deep dark details of what I do at work. Man, you want to talk about sports and light shit? I'll do that. And then when I'm gone, I'm gone. I'll see you next Thanksgiving. That's where I'm at.
I think the other thing that's hard too is that you like me, when I was actually enjoying it with Mark, I'll call him my brother-in-law, but basically Noreen's brother.
Yeah.
We actually enjoyed it, and it would start off to get heated. Like, Mark, you're just an absolute idiot. He'd call me an absolute idiot. But by the end of the night, by the end of the discussions, I mean, we talked about legal immigration, and we talked about guns, and we talked about, EPA. So we're talking some pretty heavy topics.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when you get through all the bustle and you get down to this is the one question that you could ask any single person who has an opinion like this, that will make it go from elevated, holy crap, that really sucks, to, oh, okay, now we're having a conversation. As soon as they come up with, for example, the Mexicans, blah, 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 they're the ones that do all the hit and run, just ask them, how would you solve the problem?
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense.
Because then once you get past the bluster of all the Mexicans are the ones driving, how would you solve the problem? You recognize that it's a problem. How would you solve it? Then it forces them to start thinking, okay, well, how would I solve the problem? I get rid of all of them. Oh, you get rid of all of them. Okay, the ones that are here legally, the ones that are here not legally. Okay, that makes sense. So are you also going to get rid of all the white people, black people, Asian people that do the same things? So is it a law that gets rid of all of them too? Or now you're just talking about just Mexicans? And then once you break it down like that, it slows down, because I think that's the biggest thing, is there's not a simple answer to any of these questions.
No, there's not.
Like while I totally admit that it would be easy to say that when you live in a state that has a very large Hispanic population, and when you hear the bad stories of hit and runs, and there is a lot of people who have an Hispanic last name, it would be easy to say, oh, it's all of them. It would be more difficult to say the problem is the hit and run, not who does it, right?
Yeah.
So solve that problem, and then it calms everything down. But that being said, we live in a crazy world right now, and sometimes I think people say those kind of statements just to get a rile out of people, like to get it juices up and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I don't think my uncle's not that type by any means. Like he's just talking because it's what he knows, and I don't think he can sit and just be quiet. He can't enjoy the quietness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So and you can fill your head up with fill up the void with a lot of different conversations, and like I'll talk sports, I'll talk light stuff all the time, But for me, it comes back to something that people have said about me for years. Sometimes I just don't care enough.
Yeah.
And the big picture, do I think a conversation with a family member that is on the complete opposite side of what I think, is it going to pay off? I don't think so. I don't see the value in it, so I'm not going to do it. I don't feel that passionately about it to where I'm going to start a fight on Christmas Day.
Now, I would like to put out something for our listeners who may not have known. Scott, you and I have had many discussions.
We've gone toe to toe
about the greatest band of all time.
Oh, we have.
So now think about it. So that topic isn't even one that I would call politically charged,
and that's not even one I even care about that much. I don't, to be honest, I don't like either band that much. But
we've had some dragouts, man. I mean, you and I have had some dragouts.
We have.
Which band is better? So
the band I picked, for the record, is still selling out stadiums in 2019.
And the band that I picked for the record isn't even only two of them are left.
I think they broke up 50 years ago.
They broke up 40 years ago, or maybe 35, 40 years ago. But
no, because I'm 37. I don't think they broke up. The Beatles broke up in the late 60s or the early 70s, did they not?
Yeah, I think that the only argument I would make on this is that who set the standard for that kind of music and who followed up, and the Rolling Stones followed up.
Clearly, Elvis. Elvis set the standard.
You lose. I'm going to clean the dishes now. See, this is how it goes.
Very good, very good. I can appreciate an argument like that. I would be engaged in more family arguments if they were like that.
But here's the thing: is that so? What's the difference between that opinion, right? That opinion, which you and I have had many conversations. We've drank over those, we've gotten heated over those, and your uncle's conversation. Like, why is it for most of us that we are not comfortable talking about something like he talked about, yet we have no problem talking about who is the greatest basketball player of all time, what's the best band of all time?
Well, I think it's a comfort level, to be honest with you. And I don't mind talking about, I really, honest to God, don't mind talking about politics. It was someone that doesn't have the same viewpoints as me. It's fine. I just don't, to have a blanket statement, like he had those couple blanket statements, I didn't care for those. I didn't like the fact that that's a stereotype, a generalization that was so far off base. As far as I was concerned, that I wanted to even dignify with an argument. Like, whatever.
Good point.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Just, if that's what you think, that's what you think. You go back. You go home tomorrow. I don't care. You're not going to affect me long term with this.
And I think the argument over like the greatest basketball player, both sides of the argument have very valid arguing points that when it comes down to it at the very end of the day, if someone said the final answer is this, I think both sides may not like the answer, but they would say, okay, I can buy into it because of this, and this. Yeah, An argument like his, it's like, well, that's such a flawed anyways, you can't even dignify it with a comment because like that's a flawed statement.
Yeah, and I agree. And that's something that, like, at my age now, I think I'm mature enough to figure out when to and when not to engage. 10 years ago, I might have engaged in that argument just out of ignorance. But now it's like, no, I don't want to. I can't. I won't. I'm not going to do it. It's not worth it. I have other things I'm working on, other things I'm doing, other things that are more important to me.
Well, and I think that the key is that you save the relationship with family. And ultimately, I was fortunate because Mark and I, at the end of our Thanksgiving trip, I mean, we were both saying, you know what? You are dumb as a box of rocks, but you're a good guy. we were both like, you don't know crap about anything, but you're a really nice guy. So we were joking about it toward the end. And so we were fortunate that we could take heated topics and yet bring it back down to family. It's family. That's the most important thing.
It is. And that's part of I guess, the holiday experience is trying to navigate different family opinions, because if you find a family that has 100% agreement on everything, you're looking at a family that's full of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone's lying in that group, I don't know, but I'll tell you what.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, for our listeners out there, did you have any family time arguments over the holidays? What was your favorite argument you had with them? Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Kernedge. If you want to pick a fight with our executive producer, Tom, it's not going to happen. He won't engage you, but he might send you a swear trick. Hit him up at liquid_EP on Twitter and Instagram.
Well, and I guess I would like to say that this is the last episode of 2018. Scott, you have been my family for a long time.
Yes, as you have been mine.
And I can honestly say every week we have our little extended family of loyal listeners who come out and listen to us every year or every week for now a year and a half, almost 2 years. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year, absolutely.
Yeah, we love you, and Scott, obviously you and I are going to be family for a long time. And, despite the fact you don't know anything about music, I love you.
And you know nothing about basketball. I could put that besides us and say, I love you too.
Thanks, bro. Hey, for the last one of the year, why don't you sign us off tonight?
Hey, man, we want to thank everyone for listening. And Jason, thanks you for giving me this opportunity to say thank you. We appreciate everything everyone's done for us, listening, giving us feedback, being on the show with us this past year. We can't thank you all enough because without you, we don't have this show. This is a labor of love for all of us involved, whether we want to admit it or not. So I hope you had a great 2018. Have a very safe 2019. And as always, that's Jason. I'm Scott. And if you never quite know what to say, have yourself some Liquid Kernedge.